Hello? I am Juan Camilo Estrada and welcome to this new chapter of Epicentro. Have you ever heard of biological collections? They are sets of organisms that, when preserved, follow standards, allowing the taxonomic identification of the biological specimens. The herbariums provide information on the origin and distribution of these categories. Today, Norberto Lopez, curator of the Joaquin Antonio Uribe Herbarium, will be accompanying us here in the city of Medellin, who will explain in depth what it consists of. An herbarium is a biological collection. To put it in simpler terms, it is a museum of parts of plants or whole plants. When they are small, they are dissected in a drying process that can last at least 2 or 3 days, day and night at 70 degrees Celsius. And with associated information. Without that information it does not serve as a herbarium piece. The information includes ethnobotanical data, such as common names, uses of the plant, geographic data, locality, coordinates, altitude above sea level, name of the path, geographical features and data that describe the plant. Because when extracting a branch when the plant is very large and only one branch with several leaves is removed, whether at least 3 leaves attached to the stem and hopefully always with flowers and fruits, but on the branch you cannot see the entire plant, we do not know if it is a vine, a tree or a liana, so you have to write down those characteristics, the measurements of the plant in height and in diameter at breast height DAP we call it, and colors different from the green exudates, and odors mainly that this disappears in the drying process is lost, and also ecological data, such as the soil, the terrain, if it is a hillside top, as much information as possible, whether they are floral visitors, animals that eat the fruits or disperse the seeds, and the date also goes to study the phenology of the plants, that is, in what seasons they flower, bear fruit, those that defoliate or drop the leaves, in what season they do so, all those phenological phases of the life cycle of the plants. The geographical distribution can also be studied from this information. Pollinators that help fertilize the flowers, so that they produce fruits, seeds and seed. Dispersers. Herbaria are depositories of very valuable information, because in every ecosystem plants are the first link in the food chain. Remember that they are the only producers of fibers, food, raw materials, medicines, chemicals, chemical substances of all kinds, dyes, etc. Knowing this productive component of the ecosystem is the first thing we must know to learn to value these ecosystems that surround us. Learn to use them sustainably. Love them and take care of them more. While in Colombia, which is the country with the greatest biodiversity per unit area in almost all biological groups. We have already seen the extensive information that herbaria provide us. They keep the secrets of the natural world and the memory of ecosystems. They are brought from the field like this. We reuse newspapers. We always mark codes with a pencil so that they are not erased, because every day that we collect a package we must bathe it in 70% alcohol. So if it is marked with ink, the alcohol will erase the information and work is lost. That's how it should be with pencil, and taking into account, for example, in this case there are compound sheets. All this is a single sheet. Here there are only 2, 3 or 4 sheets with this one that is already badly damaged, always in the possible with flowers. In this case we have flowers or fruits. In the end they remain like this, with the information clean and with a pocket to store any part that falls out, since it opens very easily, and with a herbarium code, this it is like the museum catalog number. It is unique for this piece. In all of Colombia there are approximately 40 herbaria in all of Colombia, and we are members of a Colombian Herbarium Association ACH. We are more or less the 5th largest herbarium in the country. The largest herbarium is at the National University of Bogotá. Most of the universities that have careers related to biology or biological sciences have herbariums. The largest in Colombia has 600,000 or more than 600,000. I don't know exactly how long it is. The herbarium of the Antioquia University has a minimum of 250,000. This herbarium already turned 50 last year. We have collections since 1923 since it is the oldest, a collection by Marciliano Posada. In this herbarium of the Botanical Garden we are already reaching 95,000 collections. And now we ask ourselves, how are the collections arranged in the herbariums? There are herbaria where the collection is arranged alphabetically by botanical families. In this case we choose to order them phylogenetically, that is to say in evolutionary order, the most primitive plants at the beginning and all of them like this. In this way it is easier to identify a plant, if it is not of a family is in a closer family. That is why we chose the option of this phylogenetic evolutionary order. There we have at the beginning of the collection, the basal families within the angiosperms that are the flowering plants, and at the end or on the other side we have the more primitive as a taxonomic group that are ferns and related plants, or also ferns and basal plants of these groups. Gymnosperms also that are plants without true flowers with the embryo or naked ovule. We have among all these 95,000 collections about 10,000 or more species. We have from all of Colombia and from neighboring countries. Most of them are from other countries, the closest ones being Ecuador. Bolivia, Peru, Panama and Mexico. There was a lot of exchange at one time with herbaria in Mexico and other herbaria in the United States. Which have supported quite a lot of botanical research in Colombia, and some strange ones out there brought to us by Lorenzo Uribe, son of Joaquin Antonio Uribe, who is the one to whom we owe the name of the herbarium and the garden. Since he brought collections from Europe, there are somehow many without much information but very beautiful. This herbarium is one of the largest in Colombia with preservation of flora from various parts of the world. After the break we will learn which are the most important biological collections. In herbariums there are collections that act as standards to identify the correct name of a plant, being the most valuable collections in herbariums called type collections. Norberto explains what it consists of. The most important collections are the type collections, because they are the references or world witnesses of when a species is written for the first time and it is given the name made up of two words, genus and species, binomial name, then it is designated in the publication. In which collection, or, in this case, in which herbarium the type collection or several type collections that may exist are going to be stored. There must be at least one, which is the holotype, if there is only one. Collection, also the moment in which the researcher collected that individual, be it a tree, grass, insect, fungus or any animal, then one can have several samples of the same individual, of the same population, and the one that is best, the best or most complete collection will be called holotype. The other duplicates are called isotypes, and if there are other collections of the same species that have been made by other researchers or by that same researcher at another time or elsewhere, those collections are cited in the publication and are called parotypes, which are the most common types we can find. Very good. And to better understand, let's see this example of a collection of orchids that are kept in this herbarium. This herbarium is strong with orchids, which is how our herbarium began, with the donation of orchids from Mr. Mariano Ospina Hernandez, son of former President Mariano Ospina Perez. So we have a very complete collection of orchids. This, for example, was designated Dracula anicola and described by Carlos Luder and Rodrigo Escobar, who is from Antioquia and Luder a foreigner. And they published it in this magazine of the Colombian Orchid Society, which is called Orchideologia Volume 15, Number 6 in 198. Anyone who finds this same species should be guided by this type collection. It is like the prototype and the world witness of the name that was assigned to the species. These orchid collections are important because they are the first orchids seen. For this reason, in many cases the geographic coordinates are not publicly described to prevent them from being looted from their natural populations. Little by little we have understood what they consist of, and how they are once the herbariums have been formed. Now, it will be that we can visit or learn about some of these collections on the internet. They have always been very key as a support for studying plants. They were invented in Europe mainly because of the difficulty in winter of being able to go out into the field to study plants. So to have them there all year long, because in winter you cannot go out, since those who like plants go to study in a herbarium. Having them stuffed ensures that they will last a lifetime, 100, 200, 500 years stored here, and with all the technological aids we have a high-resolution scanner or very good photographic station's capacity to take photos, and that anyone anywhere in the world or at any time can investigate the collections of each herbaria. At this moment we already have several digital herbariums in Colombia that are virtual, such as the Amazon Herbarium that is based in Bogotá El Sinchi, or the Coach Herbarium, the National Herbarium of the National University of Colombia based in Bogotá, the Herbarium of the University District of Bogotá, in which there are timber plants. Because there is forestry engineering and there are some virtual herbaria, we still do not have it. We are in the process of systematizing the entire collection and being able to digitize the images. Thanks to the management systems, the databases have allowed us to access and manipulate all the information we find, discovering the collections of the virtual herbariums, for example, through photographs, videos and illustrations. However, face-to-face continues to be one of the most realistic ways to get to know this type of specimens. However, technology helps to efficiently store different types of data on the website and significantly reduce logistics times. For example, how do herbaria verify the existence of a species anywhere in the world? We have databases available at the national and international level that help us search for information and type collections, which are those that are designated at the time of writing the species, when they are described for the first time, and a scientific name made up of 2 words is given. Genus and species epithet. This, for example, is a database that the Missouri Botanical Garden has, where the Antioquia Vascular Plants Catalog project is housed. I can access a world database. This red icon takes me to a page where these witness collections of the world's plants are hosted. When one sees that there is none that is similar, then one should consult family specialists or of the genus that exists worldwide, and with these specialists one begins to find out if it really could be a new species, and we must take measurements of each part. Look for it first with flowers and fruits. Look in other herbaria to see where it has been collected. If it has not been collected, you should return to the place where it was found at different times of the year to be able to find flowers, then at another time when the flowers are pollinated. Arrive when they are in fruit. Count the number of seeds per fruit. Try to discover which are the pollinators, the dispersers, the most information that can be collected. And once you have all that information, you can publish it in an international scientific journal. Through historical records we will know if any of these species is in danger of extinction or if, on the contrary, its reproduction has increased. There are also technological tools that help distinguish the morphological characteristics of a plant species. In this case, the stereoscope would be one of them. The stereoscope acts as a magnifying glass to which I can change several magnifications. I can see it much wider or less broad, and with that we can differentiate very small details that in a photograph will never come out no matter how good a macro we have, or it is very difficult to achieve that level of detail. The trichomes are like the pubescence or the hairiness that the leaves have on the surface, and it helps us to differentiate species of the same group and genus within the family, then. Depending on the size and shape of those hairs, because there are some that are in the form of scales, simple hairs, and others are starry hairs that come out of the same point, several hairs or branched hairs that is like a micro miniature tree. That helps us to differentiate, since they are very detailed characters, which serve to differentiate species. We are gradually closing our program, but first we are going to review and share with you the photographs that are sent to our email address epicentrotvagro@gmail.com. This is our section and your section closest to the field. William Lopez from Capile, Cundinamarca publishes some photographs with hashtag Macerca del Campo and shows us an insect known as a stick, resting on this beautiful orchid. Orlando Giraldo from Rio Frio, Valle del Cauca tells us the following. I share these photographs that I took on the way to the farm. See you, what a beauty of a flowering tree. And finally Diego Garcia from the Combima Canyon in Ibague, Tolima shows us this photograph of the flowers on his farm. And thank you very much for participating in the section Closer to the Field TV. Remember that you can send any photograph, video or comment that brings you closer to the field to our email epicentrotvagro@gmail.com, or if you also want to publish them on social networks with the hashtag Macerca del Campo TV. And so we end this new Epicentro program. Thank you very much for joining us and always staying active. Remember to write to our email, and once this program is over you can find it on our YouTube channel. I'm Juan Camilo Estrada, and we'll see you at a next time.